Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity to make money in the market or to just learn from the market, right? But let me go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth, and the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, y'all, let's get started. So we are looking at the VIX, and as you can see, we have been moving kind of like sideways ever since that 4 o'clock. I always try to go to the 4 o'clock candle, right? And this ATR trailing stop, which is right here around the 1635, we've been having trouble in this area. We will come and test it. The 5 and the 50 has crossed, and that means the VIX could very well send us back to the ups. Send the VIX back to the upside. Let me say that, and in turn will send the SPY to the downside. Let me get my words right. So our trouble place for the VIX is right here at 1694, which is the 200 EMA on this 30-minute chart. And it looks like we're breaking through that ATR trailing stop again. The 5 and the 50 has crossed. We are, moving up, it looks like. So let's go to a higher time frame. We are going to have trouble at 1653 and right here at 1661. So if the VIX breaks above this 16, I'm going to put 1670 area, then that means we could very well have trouble to the upside for the SPY. So I'm going to set my alert and I'm going to trade carefully today, right? So it's going to be an interesting day either way, because if you look at Meta, it dropped a lot. So let's go to SPY first and then we'll go to Meta. So the SPY was trading in this range today, this morning. I always again go to the 4 o'clock candle. So our support was at 502.43, resistance at 503.20, and it seems like we traded in that range since this long candle drop off yesterday, right? We came down, traded in this range. We've broken out of that. So is the SPY going to trade to the downside? Let's go to a higher time frame to see where our trouble places are. I had that 501.13, 501.43 marked because it was an area of support before. So we could very well come back and test this area. Again, SPY looks like it wants to decline based on how it's trading now. Anything is possible. I always say trade what you see. It would not surprise me if we came back down to this 493, which was another area of support. So right now, if we break where we are now, that 501.43 and then 498.37, it's the ATR trailing stop on this 4-hour chart. We could very well come down and test that. Again, if we break that, I can see the 493.57. Let's go to the daily chart. The SPY moves on average $6.64 per day. And it seems like the 5 EMA is what's holding us up now. It was, let me rephrase that, was holding us up, at the 503.32. And where is it? No, 503.32. We are under that, as you can see. Yeah, so we are declining. Can we continue to the downside? Again, we know that 473 is a 200 EMA. So if you trade the SPY today, I always say y'all trade very, very carefully. Allow your trades to come to you and get confirmation as to why you're entering the trades. But right now, the 502.43 and the 503.20 was our support and our resistance, and it looks like it's trying to decline. Now let's say to the upside, if by chance it decides it wants to go back to the upside, it needs to break above that 503.20 and above the 503.36. So I'm going to put an alert above that to let me know that it has broken past that place to the upside. Now we are going to have trouble at 504.17, which is the ATR trailing stop on that 30-minute chart. If it continues to climb or go up, 504.44 is a trouble place, and 505.65. Those are resistance areas to the upside. To the downside, we can just continue to fall. Again, it trades about $6.64, meaning it can move in either direction. The $6.64. So I always say, buy off of support once it's found support, and you want to sell at rejection or once it gets rejected at the resistance area. So let's go to Tesla. Tesla is interesting because, as you can see, we have been, ever since earnings, it's been trading in this range. And again, that's why I look at the higher time frame, so it can give me a wider view. Tesla has been trading in this gathering spot for a while now, or a couple of days, let's say that, since 424. Well, it's been trading since a couple of days now in this area here. And the support is right here at 161.46. The resistance is at 162.91. If Tesla breaks to the upside, it can come back and retest this 167.97. It is doable. It is possible. Let me say that. Again, it is having trouble. I mean, we've been kind of like consolidating. It's going to have a strong move up or a strong move down. We just have to be ready for the move. Let's say that. So if it breaks under this 161.46, which is kind of right at the 20 EMA at 161.70, we can come back and test this 159.03, which is the 50 EMA, looking at it on this 30-minute chart. If we break that 159.03, it can come back and test the 157.12, which is the ATR trailing stop, and the 200 EMA is at 154.93. Keep in mind, Tesla has a gap to the downside because it gapped up so much with earnings. It has a gap to be filled that will need to be filled to the downside, starting at the 153.30. It looked like we tried to test it on yesterday here at this candle around 12:30, but for some reason it found support and went back to the upside. So that gap will close at 147.26, around that area. So I would say if you trade Tesla, be very, very careful. Again, we can come back up and test this 167.97, which was yesterday's high. Again, it is trading sideways. The move up could be strong, or the move down can be strong, because we have a gap that needs to be filled. Our trouble places for Tesla at this point is, I have that 167.97 mark, and let's see, we have some other places that's kind of going to give us a hiccup. And the interesting thing is we're above the 5 EMA and we're just trying to get back up. Are we going to reach this 170.150? Because that is the 200 EMA on this 4-hour chart. So Tesla could very well break through all of this and come back and test this 170.150. It would not surprise me. But again, keep in mind, we're trading in this zone, in this area, and we could very well move in either direction. And Tesla normally moves about $7. Well, it's $8.36 per day. And I would say, again, if you trade Tesla, be very, very careful, because again, it can move up, it could move down, and we are trading in a range to where it really wants to break in either direction. Now, we've already been to the, we've been kind of like in the middle. My concern is if it breaks under this 161 here, because we've been here. If we break this area, I would be concerned, that we're coming back to the downside. That 160.51 has been strong support for Tesla. So if we break this area, we could very well continue to the downside. Again, I always say trade carefully. If you trade Tesla, trade carefully, right? Tesla is very interesting. This is NVDA. NVDA support right now was at 798.98, resistance at 803.11. It has created a gathering spot for us, as you can see. Our trouble places as of right now is 806.21 and 812.13, which is the ATR trailing stop, and the 50 EMA. Now, if we break those areas, we could very well come up and test this 821.80, which is the 200 EMA right here on this 30-minute chart. Our 50 EMA, well, let's go to the 20, because it's right there at where the 803, it's at 806, no, it's 803.90. So if we break above this 803 area, we could come up and test this 810.09, and again this 822.09. So those are places that I would look out, mark those levels. If I traded NVIDIA, set my alerts to let me know that those are going to be trouble places. And it could if we break that 822.09, we can come up to the 839.95, which is that 200 EMA, looking at it on this 1-hour chart. So on the 4-hour, if we break, if we can get up to the 811.02, then 832 area, 832.10 is going to be our trouble place based on the 4-hour chart. And keep in mind, NVIDIA is moving, it normally moves about $40.27 per day. And as you can see, those numbers, they fluctuate, they change. And right here on this daily chart, it looks like the 5 and the 50 was trying to cross, to the downside. So I would say be careful if you're trading NVIDIA, keep in mind there is a gap to the downside at the 742.33 down to the 688.88 that will still need to be filled, and that was created on 222. So, it could very well come down and fill that gap and find support somewhere down here at the 609 range. So we don't rule anything out. Don't say anything is possible in the market. So if you trade NVIDIA, I would definitely watch those levels, the 806.23, the 812.13, and the 821.79. Those are your resistance levels to the upside. And to the downside, we could very well come back to this range here of 783.32. If we break that level, let's see, 732 area, our trouble places at 772.78, which is the ATR trail and stop. So I would say mark those levels, trade carefully, set your alerts, and make sure you have confirmation as to why you're entering your trades. Meta is very interesting. Yesterday it closed at 493.50, reported earnings. As you can see, this long candle here brought it all the way down. So it went, the high of this candle is 497.30. The low of this candle is at 428.50, and it closed at 436. We've been trading, it made a low of 399.02. We've been trading in this range here from 421.97 to 430.96. That is the range. It is under the 5 EMA. So are we going to continue declining to the downside? That's something to be mindful of. I would set my alert above the 430.96, knowing that we're going to have trouble at the 436.62. If we break that level to the upside, we're going to have trouble at 452.96, which is the ATR trail and stop, and at the 460.20. Those are areas to the upside that we will definitely have trouble. So I would watch those areas. If I traded Meta, I'm not sure how I would trade Meta today, because it looks like we're still declining. I always do that. So it looks like we're still, it still wants to decline. It does have some gaps to the downside that need to be filled or closed. Let's say that. We did close one here. And yeah, so I would trade Meta very, very carefully today and know that it can continue to decline. It moves normally $17.13 on a daily basis on average. Right now, it could very well come down to the 473.01, which is the ATR trail and stop here on the daily chart. Keep in mind the gap is at 469 down to 453.52. So that gap would definitely need to be filled to the downside. So again, if you trade Meta, trade carefully, trade cautiously. Don't rush into your trades, and don't think that just because it's dropped this much, that doesn't mean that it cannot continue to drop or go down. Let's say that. So AMD, we are looking at AMD. Our support this morning was at 151.16, resistance at 152.03, and we've been trading in that zone. It's right there at the 55 and the 20 EMA. That's something to be mindful of. If we break this 152.03 to the upside, I would definitely set my alert there, because there's strong resistance and support there. If it breaks this to the upside, we will have trouble at the 152.87, the 153.72. Those are places that I would mark and set my alerts, knowing that I'm going to have trouble at that area. Now, if we break to the downside under the 151.16, we could very well come back down, to this area of 149.35, because that was an area of support before. 139.35, 37 range. So I will definitely watch those areas. Or again, we can come back down to test the area of 145.68 or the 145.29. So it is trading at a place that we just have to watch and wait and watch. And looking at it on the daily chart, it moves about $6.25 per day. It could very well come down and retest this 144.19. So I would say if I trade AMD, I would be careful. It looks like it's declining. The 5 EMA, which is the 152.36, is our support or resistance. Let's say that. So let's see where it is right now. The 151. So we're in the 151 range. We just had a pop to the upside. So the 152.36 is our support or our resistance. We need to watch that area because it seems like it's moving now. And yeah, AMD is going to be interesting. I always say again, y'all, trade carefully, trade cautiously. Look at how that candle just moved up and then it came all the way back down. So you have to just be careful and not, again, not rush into your trades. Allow your trades to come to you. So we looked at NVDA, and we've looked at the SPY, and we've looked at Tesla and the VIX. I'm going to go back to the SPY just to see where we are. Look at that. We have some interesting information must have come out at 8. Yes, we must have some data, economic data to come out for the SPY to decline the way that it did. So that's going to be interesting, y'all. Very, very interesting. Let me say that. Trade carefully. I always say that. Be careful with your trades today. So yeah, y'all, I hope these videos are very, very helpful. I try to look at them as I see them and just pick out the things that I see. Again, I am not a financial advisor. I just hope that everyone have a very profitable day and use this as a learning experience so that we can grow, right? We learn and we grow together. So again, I hope that everyone have an awesome, awesome day today. If you could, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, y'all. So have an awesome day. I've said that so many times that today is going to be a great day. Until next time, y'all, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.